Backpacker Killer, featuring Ivan Milat. Full name, Ivan Robert Marco Milat. Crimes and sprees. Ivan was known to be an Australian serial killer who was responsible for the backpacker murders that took place between 1989 and 1992. The location was in the Belanglo State Forest, Australia. He would kidnap backpackers or hitchhikers, then brutally execute them. His victims included both male and female gender and did not target any specific race or ethnicity. Before murdering his victims, he would attempt to rob and steal their belongings, then use them for his own camping trip in the forest. Even before the murders, he was heavily involved in crimes such as theft, along with kidnapping and faking his own death. Ivan primarily used a .22 caliber Ruger 10.22 semi-automatic rifle and a 12-inch Bowie-style knife to torture his victims. Occasionally, it was reported he would use a Colt 45 dot pistol. However, it was rare for him to use due to the fact he would usually use large guns during the murders. At first, he would disguise himself using a gentle and friendly demeanor to gain trust from victims, such as leading the way. However, instead of leading to their destination, he would trap them in his vehicle. Due to the fact the Belanglo Forest is a large forest, even till this day, Ivan would not dig a deep hole. Instead, he would casually place the dead bodies on the ground or pile it up with the dead branches or logs. Investigation. Missing persons case had opened, reported they were last contacted in the Belanglo forest. The authorities would dismiss and had dismissed the cases, adding it to the hundreds of missing person cases that are unrelated to the backpacker murders. In September 1992, two people had reported on finding the remains of Caroline Clarke and Joanne Walters, who were the victims of Ivan Milat, which led to the investigation in the Belanglo forest. Over the next 14 months, the police had opened a large investigation, later finding and discovering more remains, making a claim that the serial killer was at large. Based on the remains, it was discovered a gun owner was responsible for the killings. Therefore, they created a profile of a person who owned several guns along with a vehicle. However, many people owned guns and vehicles, making it difficult to figure out the exact person. One day, though, there was an international call and report from a male named Paul Onions, who had reported about Ivan, leading to the police identifying the killer. Paul was requested to fly back in Australia and identify whether if the man they caught was Ivan or not. And it was proven. It was confirmed Ivan was the killer. Out of the photographic lineups, Ivan was arrested at 6:30 a.m. on May 22, 1994, with the police raiding his property at his home in Eagle Vale, Sydney, Australia again. Trial and court proceedings. The court proceedings and trial took place between March to July of 1996 at New South Wales Supreme Court in Sydney. 4 months in total. Ivan had denied to plead guilty on all 7 murders, showing no remorse and matter of fact went against with the clear evidence shown in court. However, witness Paul Onions had made a clear statement the man sitting in front of him, Ivan Milat, during the court was the killer and attempted to murder him too. In addition, while searching Ivan's home, the belongings of the victims were discovered, along with rifles used during the murders. Ivan himself had remained confident, calm, which unnerved the public and the victims' families. Unlike other cases such as the Hello Kitty murder, Chaman Look, Ivan did not try to hide his smile. He showed an arrogant, joyful smile at the journalists and even towards the jury. Due to the fact the weapons were also found in his family's land, Ivan attempted to shift the blame to his brothers, specifically Richard and Walter Milat. He used the defense that he claimed he was a hard-working road contractor who loved camping out, but would never kill anyone. Claimed he never did either. Regardless of this defense, on July 27 of 1996, Ivan was sentenced with the first-degree murders on all 7 killings, along with 6 additional years for the attack on Paul Onions, without the possibility of parole. Childhood. Ivan was the 5th child of 14 children, born to a Croatian immigrant father, Ivan Milat, sir, and an Australian mother, Margaret Cooper. His home life was full of aggression and a strict disciplinary household. The house they lived in was a small and heavily crowded setting, each children not having their room of their own. Physical abuse was a form of discipline during that era, therefore Ivan had suffered many physical punishments, even for small mistakes. Their home life was a private setting, viewing the outside human beings as a hostile, including officers. In a scenario, if one of the Milat brothers was involved in any stealing or form of crime, they would be expected to lie to the police and cover their crimes regardless of the negative level of morality. From a very young age, Ivan had access to weapons, leading to them often hunting for creatures, which led to the obsession with guns. Due to the fact, crime-wise, Ivan had thought he would not get arrested, he would often commit crimes such as stealing and petty theft, and being involved in petty theft. However, at age 17, he was sent to a juvenile detention for property theft. Ivan grew up to be a violent man, using intimidation if he desired something in his hands. Personal life, potentially affecting their crimes and acts. As mentioned before, Ivan was heavily obsessed with guns, specifically heavy rifles. When robbing stores and places or settings, he would use the guns he had, contributing himself on going to detention centers many occasions or events in his life. Years later, from his teenage years, in 1983, he had met his first wife, Karen Duck, and that would be his last. However, their relationship was full of abuse, obsession, or reliances on weapons, which led to the divorce between them on 1987. In addition, his wife had claimed he had a horrible temper, including violence. It was reported that normally serial killers would desperately try to hide their weapons or any form of things that could be cited as evidence. However, for the case of Ivan, due to him loving his weapons so much, he did not try to hide his guns. In fact, he would flash his weapons to his relatives, using them as a trophy. Pivotal events. Ivan Robert Marko Milat was born on the 27th of December, 1944, in Guildford, New South Wales, Australia. In 1961, age 17, he was arrested and sent to detention center. In 1964, Ivan was caught breaking into a residence, resulting in an 18-month prison sentence. Just months after the prison sentence, the 18-month prison sentence, he was caught stealing a car and sentenced to 2 years of hard labor. In 1971, his first 2 murders towards 18-year-old hitchhikers had occurred. In 1987, he divorced his wife Karen Duck. On January 25, 1990, Paul Onions had escaped his hands. The first discovery of the bodies was on September 19, 1992. On May 1994, police had raided his home, leading to his arrest. On 1997, after his arrest, Ivan had escaped prison, however was soon caught, transferring him to a high-risk management unit, Supermax. Quotes from Ivan Robert Marco Milat. I don't care. People die. They should get over it. Don't hold your breath waiting for me to call. His defiant reply to the authorities who offered to take his call if he wanted to talk. Once you think you know what has occurred, then you will accept it as a fact. I was framed by the police, a malicious court trial night. What do you want me to watch this for? I don't feel sorry for them. Why should I feel sorry for them? Snores, pretends to fall asleep. In the end, I just got angry, or I don't know what, I'm by myself, and I just chopped off my finger, mate. You could put a blowtorch in my ears or eyes, or whatever. I can't help you. Forensic inferences. The childhood of Ivan was filled with violence, chaos, lack of privacy, crimes, and lack of empathy. It's likely during this time he had begun to get used to the harsh environment, along with the criminal life, adjusting into the setting. His parents, while having a strong discipline, it's likely they never had guided Ivan in a proper way, like parents would usually do in recent days all over the countries, all over the global world. For him, his mind had already processed the crimes and violent acts as an everyday thing to do, as if it was a breakfast. The lack of remorse his parents likely showed when acting during the harsh punishment or discipline made Ivan feel that was the right thing to do. The violence was correct, while it's not. While maybe the murders he knew it wasn't morally correct. He couldn't help himself but kill due to the fact it was a normality in him. He was likely did not get along with anyone as a child, which is likely not the main reason for his crimes, and as an adult he doesn't seem to have a negative social life, but as a child he was likely socially isolated due to the fact his parents covered him. It's likely he was never told about the rules with weapons or taught to not use them as a daily basis, leading to him using it during the murders as if it was a video game you could play on. When stealing the victim's belongings, it's likely he thought as a coin or a reward people would gain in video games, making it his trophy that was put in his house. He was likely proud and happy about the killings, regardless of what people had told him the wrongs. It isn't about blindness, but more normality in the mind of Ivan, labeled by others as a narcissistic psychopath. Narcissist because he would think about himself and the prize he would win. Psychopath because he did not care about the moral standards, or did not think killing as a negative moral. Legacy and impact. The case of Ivan Milat remains Australia's most brutal cases. Victims' families are still traumatized till this day. Paul Onions, the survivor, the victim of Ivan Milat, moved back to the United Kingdom, working as a high-class engineer. On 1997, it was reported Ivan's great-nephew, Matthew Milat, had murdered his friend, then used the same location, the Belanglo Forest, as a place to hide his friend's bodies. It was claimed he would look up to Ivan even before the murders, not because of the family roots, but because of his murders. Hitchhiking became feared after the case of Milat. In 2005, a movie named Wolf Creek was made based on this case of Ivan Milat. Ivan, even after 22 years, he never confessed about the crimes and the murders he had done.